Hey buddies, welcome to AmassGames. My name is Simon. Today I'm bringing you my top 100 games of all time. This has been recorded in the middle of December 2021. If you want to see my prior list, which was the top 250 list, you can find there as a playlist for that available on the channel, along with many other playlists such as how to set up, play and review, cooperative games, solo games, amongst many more. Now aside from this does include games where there are an expansion, and I'll start it off with 100. It definitely does have that in there. And what that means is I'd rather play the game with the expansion than without it. And maybe there's another variant of a game, and once again, I'd rather play a game with that version or with that expansion as opposed to the base game. As such, this could be regarded as much shorter than top 100 list, but it goes to show how important some of these expansions are. My average rating for its expansion is slightly lower than for a base game, so it shouldn't be dominating, but just to let you know. In addition to that, there are some different games in the series. And again, I'm choosing to tell you if there's exactly one game there that I'm wishing to bring you. Okay, without further ado, please ensure, of course, you like, you subscribe, you share, you comment, and of course, support the channel via following via Instagram and of course, Patreon as well. That's in the description. So in at 100 this year, we have Root, the Riverfolk expansion. This is a game I'd rather play with the Riverfolk expansion. I prefer it over the base game. You can find my review on the channel. A few extra factions really does mix things up. And I do like the fact you can obviously play it at a higher player count as well, although it does take longer. Next up, Teotihuacan, the second game in the T-series of games by Daniel Chasini. And this is very much a dice placement game by Board and Dice, the first Board and Dice game that they put out by Daniel Chasini, I believe, in Teotihuacan. And yes, it's fine on Board Game Arena as well. It's not too long, around 90 odd minutes. And it's an enjoyable game. And yeah, yet to obviously do a review, but there we are. Up next, we have Deep Sea Adventure. So this is on the channel. Teotihuacan isn't on the channel, but of course I have reviewed it, but obviously not on the channel. But Deep Sea Adventure, roll and push your luck game. A very much enjoyable game, the best oink game I believe there is. Some debate on that, but most people I think agree it's the best. Next up, Zombicide Black Plague. This is another game I highly rate, and it's a game that I've played through fully solo as well. Slight improvement, I think, over the original, without needing to use paper clips and stuff like that. Some things I prefer in the original as well, though. But yes, you can see my reviews, of course, on the channel for that as well. Next up, Yedo. This is the deluxe master set. This is also by Board and Dice. And whilst I'll use my mouse cursor here, this looks correct. The other side is actually upside down, so they have made some mistakes with this game. I have communicated with the designers as well. It's a very nice Japanese themed game. Although there's a thing between, is it Japanese, is it Chinese? Because there's a couple of different variances on there, which is a bit odd in the actual gameplay itself, I believe. Next up, Steam Time. This really took me by surprise, game by Cosmos and Ruta Dawn. Very impressive game where you are a steamship ultimately, and you're looking to go up various locations, but then you can't go back again. Really, it's quite crunchy in a way. I don't think I've won the game, but no, I haven't. I've actually come last or second to last each time I played it, but very enjoyable and up for playing it again. Really interesting game. Next up, Zexnimt by Wolfgang Kramer from 1994. Recommended for SPIEL.digital, obviously the best game of all time. And yes, quite chaotic, game up to 10 players, 2 to 10 players. A lot of fun though, great kind of party game for about 45, 60 odd minutes. And yes, I played it over, I think 70 times now, maybe more than that now. Next up, first in this list of Ticket to Rides. Yes, there's going to be a few more. This is Ticket to Ride Japan and Italy. Very much enjoyed this one. Nothing really between them. I think Italy's interesting. You've got to get to different regions, and Japan, you can go into the city, into Japan by obviously going out from the city and into Japan, and also that bullet train, which is quite swingy in a 2-player version. That's map 7. Next up is the 5th Time Stories. This is Expedition Endurance, 1914. Very interesting game, very thematic, very interesting. A bit more puzzly, and I wish I kind of knew that a bit. Potentially my favourite of the Time Stories so far. It's one I played as a 3, which definitely was faster than playing as a 4. Never played one as a 2 yet, but I think it'd be a lot quicker as well. Next up, Yogi Guru. So this is also in the theme of Yogi by Bez, stuff by Bez and Gigamike. And this is a game where you're contorting and you're trying to be the last person left, being able to hold stuff to your body. We have The Voyages of Marco Polo. This has kind of come back in it for me, having kind of got back into it on Board Game Arena as well. Another game by Daniel Chasini on here, obviously with dice placement as well, around 2015-2016 game. And yeah, by Z-Man, it's a very good Euro game. Next up, Hanabi. This is, of course, a cooperative game with cards. Now, please check out my review for Crack the Code, which is very similar to this. It involves a few more pieces. Very interesting as more of a campaign mode as well by Anton Bowser. I have finally actually managed to get 25 points of this online, having played 77 games pretty much consecutively on Board Game Arena, and then also dreaming about it. And it's by AmassGames, which is interesting. So they're over in the States. Race the clock, build the fireworks, launch your rockets. Next up, Dinosaur Island Totally Liquid expansion. So you can just play base Dinosaur Island, but you got loads of really cool stuff in this one. Actually, every dinosaur meeple kind of thing is all different. It's different colours as well. I really enjoy it. I like this kind of the board effects and stuff like that. I just really prefer it over the original. I've played the original a lot. Played all the different factions. I've played all the different modes, short, medium, long. I've played them all in a day before. Very much like this one though. Next up, a roll and write. First one on this list, I believe, or the rail and write game. So this is a game where you're trying to connect various maps on a board, basically, your individual board. When cards get revealed, technically it's a flip and fill. And yes, you can raise those boards. This is, of course, the Game Right edition. I have played the original Japanese edition as well. And I played that first before it kind of kicked off and became really popular. And yeah, very much enjoyable. I did like what game I've done with this one. Next up, Power Grid Deluxe. Now, I've talked about this one before. I prefer the pieces because they don't roll off the table, let's say, but in a way I prefer the cards than the original. This is the European North America map, but I have played many different maps and enjoy them all, and I have met Freedom and Freeze. Next up, first of the Exit games, The Abandoned Cabin by Ingrid Marcus Brandt, one of my most favourite designers. This is by Cosmos. Very enjoyable puzzle. It's the first one I played. Really great intro into the series. Highly recommend it. Then we have another expansion. This is Rivals for Catan Age of Enlightenment. Very popular video on the channel, Rivals for Catan, and the expansions. Fantastic expansion. Doesn't really necessarily aid much over the original, but I equally would say it's worth checking out if you have enjoyed the base game. It definitely doesn't detract from it whatsoever. Next up, Seven Wonders Duel. Now, I'm not talking about Pantheon or Parthenon, the expansion. We're talking about Seven Wonders Duel. I still haven't played that expansion yet. For 2 players, ages 10 plus, 30 odd minutes. I highly recommend you check out my video for Seven Wonders Architects, which is really similar. And it's very interesting because you can play a dual kind of mode, but also multiplayer as well by Repos Production. Next up, another Ticket Ride. Here we go. Ticket Ride Netherland. This is a small, oh no, sorry, that's not a small map. This is, I have played the small map. I've played the Ticket to Ride Amsterdam, which some people don't like. I didn't mind it whatsoever. I think I get a 7 out of 10. This is Netherland, so this is a large map. And yes, very much enjoyed this map 4. And yeah, there's nothing really necessarily too special about it, to be honest. I just kind of just like it. We'll do quickly. We'll go back and just quickly show this map. I just like the fact that it's got this wedge going on here, various different things you can try and combo. And I like the fact there's a couple of different ways you can go about playing this game. Now, of course, it only has one particular map. So yes, there's always one thing unique normally to it, but it's about paying tolls. So ultimately, it means if somebody wants to just try and guard and take everything on board, the downside, of course, is then you have to pay to go there instead. And I ended up crushing someone and getting twice their score. Very much enjoyed it. Next up, K2 by Adam Gluza. So this is by Rebel, a Polish company, and yeah, very much enjoyed this game going up mountaineering. It took a long time for me to win at this game. I think I've only won it online, in fact, but I have played it in person quite a few times and very much enjoyed it. Next up, Dixit. Love the game Dixit, the conceptual game, fantastic genre of conceptual gameplay where you're trying to go out and make sure people can try and get what you're using with cards. Very much like it. It's not Judge Theory, which is very important. Next up, Seven Wonders. Just about Judge Theory, let me tell you about that. So Judge Theory is around and making sure that people go, oh, they haven't got any points, I'll give it to them. So Seven Wonders, this drafting game, now it says 3 to 7 players. And yeah, ages 10 plus. In a way, you could say this is the 2nd edition. And yes, very much enjoyable game where you're sort of engine building. Next up, Pandemic. So we have a cooperative game here by Z-Mind Games. Been out over 10 years now. Very much enjoy this game where you're trying to save the world. Obviously, very apt at this moment in time. Next up, a 2-player abstract strategy game whereby the pieces come out gradually. So it's not necessarily combinatorial, or some people say it would be. And yes, this is a very interesting game. It takes around 20 minutes. And people say if they don't like chess, recommend this, where you're trying to surround the opponent's queen bee. Then we have a deduction kind of game involving a huge amount of text. This is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, very much thematic story-driven game where you're trying to figure stuff out. This in particular is the Jack the Ripper and the West End Adventures, where I must say, I think the person I was playing with, highly responsible for this. We managed to beat Sherlock, getting 105 points, which I know is extremely rare. Next up, unlock Secret Adventures. So that's what I'm talking about in this particular one. We're talking about Secret Adventures, where, in my opinion, I don't like actually two of these ones very much, but it is all about that cowboy, that lady down the bottom there, who, or whoever they are, Native American maybe, and very, very impressed that particular story. I think it's my favourite, or one of my most favourite ones. It involves poker and stuff like that. There are some problems with the Wizard of Oz one, where we made a mistake, spending 5 hours getting stuck, and it didn't help unresolved for it. And then, of course, you've got No Side, which has never been a big issue for me to play those ones, to be honest. Then we have Ticket to Ride New York, the first of the mini Ticket to Rides. Love this one, played in 80 seconds. And I think I've tried to work out my high score could be about 71. My Day to Wonder. Then Edge of Darkness, this Goliath, this Colossus, this, I don't know, the biggest table hog I've ever seen perhaps in a game. Takes up a huge amount of space. We're talking almost 2 by 2 meters or something like that. Edge of Darkness by the guy who's brought his Mystic Veil. Very similar vein to that. It should only take a couple of hours, but it did take about 6 in our first kind of game when we had to learn it and put things together and stuff like that. Yeah, it's rather nice. It's, as I see, it's a great game. It's very interesting and keen to play more. There's like 32 different levels. So there's a huge different stuff going on for it. Didn't fully get the game, to be honest, so I need to really understand a bit more. But presently, this is in that list. Next up, we have Adventure Island. It's a cooperative game, which has been a bit, I don't know why it doesn't have a good rating. Very impressed with this cooperative game whereby you're playing certain cards, you're going different kind of missions, going out to islands, discovering stuff, unlocking stuff. It is in that Kenner category, that kind of specialist category of connoisseur ability. Really impressed. I don't know why it's not highly rated. I think it's really clever what it's doing in this game, and it should be on so many people's lists. Really impressed. I really want to play at a higher player count, not just as a 2 so far. And you could say it's only got 5 levels, but it takes about 15, 16, maybe 20 odd plays to play. I just have no idea why it hasn't done well. There are some typos, so there are some annoyances there, and that's the big stickler for me. And that's on some of the cards you kind of work it out. It's just aside from that, I think it works very well. Next up, and it's also bargain price as well. Cartographers. So this is a game which is another flip and fill. A game I got months ahead of really popular, obviously shooting off the charts popularity and purchases and playing of it. So I played it way before anyone else really heard about this game, as with many other games on here. And yeah, this is Cartographers. Very, very nice, obviously, game where you're drawing, making beautiful pictures as well. I prefer it at a lower player count because you're into peek over and see what on earth we're trying to work towards. I give it an 8 out of 10, something around that, but I wouldn't. It's kind of waning a little bit for me now, and I have laminated it. I've played it a good bunch of times, and I've played all the expansions. I've played all the mini expansions. I've played it solo a lot, both sides. I've had a lot of my fill in this game. Next up, we have a particular game in the Unlock Exotic Adventure series. Of course, it's exotic because this is Scheherazad's Last Tale. Rather cool intro. You could try and game it or try and meta it or get against it, but very interesting game, highly enjoyable. Unlock this one to check out. Then up is Vindication. So Vindication is quite a large game by Orange Nebula, and this is by Mark Nedlinger, and it's a tabletop journey for 2 to 5 players. Now, I've only played this at lower player counts. Very nice sandboxy game. It can look very impressive, but also a bit dull and a bit abstract. I think it's the hexes that do it to a degree, and it's all about colour matching. Very nice. I don't think I've won at the game yet, but very enjoyable. It has been on my list to play again. And then we have Elements. This is a game that's very popular. I say very popular. Everybody I've played it to has been very impressed with it, and they want to play it again. This is called Elements. This is a game where you're trying to figure out if someone's got a higher value card than you do by playing out other cards or sets of cards. Really nice game, 2-player game, and I know someone who was going to get rid of it. I said, no, I want to have this game. I want to buy it off you because I really want to play this more. Very interesting intro filler game as a 2. It's by a team called Team SAIN, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. You kind of zone into it a bit. I'm still trying to work in on that, but yeah, you just need to think, is this the right time to play this card or not? Sometimes it's not exactly so solvable, but more likely to hopefully be on the right track compared to others. Then we have a Barma Llama, party game, as it states, by Big Potato. Yes, it's all about rhyming. It works. I think it's tricky trying to always know all these kind of I guess modern phrases or modern times and general knowledge and what's going on in the world. But equally, it's just a lot of fun and it doesn't take too long, so enjoy it. Then we have Carcassonne Expansion 1, Inns and Cathedrals. Probably my favourite expansion for Carcassonne is the first one. I just think it really rounds it out. It just means you have this obviously four-sided tile as well. Are they going to complete it? Are they not going to complete it? Maybe a bit swingy as a two, perhaps. But very much enjoy this one. And like I said, I have been to Carcassonne, and I went there before playing the game Carcassonne. Then we have another Ticket Drive Poland, which is quite tricky to sometimes work out because of the naming of it. This is one, obviously, it was a fan expansion map, and now it's made into a standard map. And it does look quite a stark looking colour, to be honest. It's quite an odd one, but yeah, it's quite strange to a degree. It's the sixth kind of box. I think it's kind of regarded as 6.5, and you have various points whereby if you're the first person to take a card, you're going to get like a 10. The next one is going to take an 8 or a 9 or something. So you want to connect up certain routes sooner. And again, as with other games, the guy who particularly I know who's collected them all, he has found out that when he's been playing it, oh, I haven't got a log to play against it. That's very odd. I need to keep an eye on that one then. So I'll keep it open, have a look into that. But yeah, very much enjoyed this game. I need to check on that log play, what else going on. But yeah, this is fan expansion 6.5, as you can see on this picture right here. So next up, Zombie Dice. Now this is kind of in some way increased for me. I don't know why. I have played other versions of Zombie Dice, and I think it's really good. I think the rating's only something like 6.2, but as a game whereby you're pushing your luck, playing things out, it's color coded, it's quite straightforward, it doesn't take long, and it's a great filler. It's just it's a very noisy cup. And you can see videos obviously for the 2 expansions, which were better than I expected as well. Obviously Zombie Dice 2 and 3 involving a school bus and other such things. Then we have Watson and Holmes by Dr. Jesus Torres Castro. So I've only played 10 of the 13 missions already. This is very highly rated for me. And yes, you're trying to be the first to figure out what on earth's going on via the clues available. Very much enjoy this game set in Victorian London. Next up, another Ticket to Ride. It's the second one in this particular game of the small series boxes. This, of course, Days of Wonder Northwest, or North 1, it says down there, N1. Days of Wonder with John Lennon on there, and it looks like a young Queen Elizabeth. And obviously some various other people there, not Tweety. It almost looks like Sharon Tate or something, but definitely someone from the Avengers. That's probably what we're thinking of, Diana Rigg. Okay, so here we go. Trafalgar Square, bus 15. I think that's apt as well. And yeah, Route Master bus there. Very much enjoy this game. I like it's grown on me over New York. I like the fact, even though the northeast area where Baker Street is quite congested, I do like the colourful nature of it. I like the cards as well. Then we have Ticket to Ride Demo. So this is a strange one. It's just black and white. Came out before these small boxes, and it just seems to work for me. It's base Ticket to Ride, nothing else to worry about, and just gets on and gets the job done. Next up, this is a particular promo for Terraforming Mars, and it's a good kind of defense in a way. I don't know why I use that phrase there, but small asteroids. So it basically increases temperature on steps. Very nice at speeding things up a little bit too, and of course a bit nasty. Obviously removes plants from someone else as well. So next up, we have another cooperative game by Matt Leacock, The Design of Pandemic. Thunderbird's 50th anniversary, or 50 years, it states. Jeremy Anderson production, so as you can see, it's higher rated than another game on this list, the game of International Rescue. Again, it's ranked, say, I think maybe a 2 to 4 player game, but I think I played as a 5 and a 6. The downside of higher player counts, particularly the guy in space, I think it's Thunderbird 5. He's just kind of stuck up there. It's not very good. Yes, you can play it solo as well. Next up, Sushi Go Party. Now, as great as Sushi Go Party is, the downside, and where obviously you have lots of different more things you can mix into the all base game of Sushi Go, which is kind of a drafting game. The downside is actually which one will you pick, and that's why I think base Sushi Go just works much more effectively. You just crack on and just play that game without wondering what combination you use, and the effort of actually choosing which one you're going to pick and bother to open. Next up, we have a game called Slough Off. Now, this has another different name. So this is, I believe, called Wizard Extreme, the second in the Wizard series of games. Obviously, that was Wizard. Then there was a Wizard Jubilee Edition and stuff like that. So in this particular game by Stefan Zora, so this isn't obviously by Ken Fisher, I believe the original is called. It's called Wizard Extreme. And yes, it's the inverse of Wizard, basically, where you're trying to almost give up tricks to sort of hand stuff in. Then we have the Quetzal Dorado. Really like this game by Dr. Rani Knizia, nominated for SPIEL.digital. Deck building game, perilous paths, and rewarding riches. This is a game whereby you are in a race to cross certain terrains, getting certain cards that potentially aid you with that as well. Very enjoyable. I haven't tried anything else other than the base game. That was by Ravensburger. This one is by Schmidt or by North Star Games, The Quacks of Quedlinburg. And I heard about this before it properly came out. And yeah, highly enjoyable. I've played it both cauldrons. I've played the Herb Witches. I've played the Alchemist expansion. I've played obviously Wolfgang's Workshop. You can check all that stuff out on the channel. And of course, I've played obviously reverse sides of that Wolfgang's Workshop as well. Haven't played the big box. No need. I've got everything else I think I need for this game. Played the pimp pieces and various other things as well. Very fun, quick push luck game by Wolfgang Walsh. Next up, 1 week Ultimate Werewolf. It took me about 8 or 9 games to get into it, but in a way, this is much more of a potentially a solvable version of 1 week Ultimate Werewolf, and that makes more sense. It makes it more strategic and more interesting to play. Then Lost Cities, another Dr. Rani Knizia game, and it says the 6th Expedition. So this is Lost Cities' original card game. This is the 2-player version. I have played the board game version as well. Nice games, playing out cards, classic Knizia, just trying to get a rung or a complete streak or set of cards, ideally consecutively. Then we have Hive Pocket. I've talked about Hive as well, and obviously this is a smaller version of the game, easy to carry around, works just as well. I'm more than happy to go. I do have the original. I don't have Hive Pocket, but being a smaller thing, it works very effectively. Then we have the Stormy Flight. This is pretty much rounding off that top 100. The 151. I will give you a glimpse at the 50 as well, to hopefully spur you on to watch, obviously, part 2, which is 50 to 1. And yes, can you solve the river doors to land the plane safely? The first solo exit I played, I highly rate this one. I think it's my highest rated exit, but find out in the top 15 in case there's anything else. Obviously, this is regarded more of novice than expert, but I found it one of the hardest ones. It took me about 4.5 hours, I think, so I hadn't been in the zone of an exit for a while, and then played a bunch straight after. So I played this away from home, and yes, I just really enjoy the puzzles in this one. So yes, this is number 50. So please tune in to watch the other video as well. This is a highly rated deck building game by Donald X Vicario, and then I'm just going to quickly show you some pictures. So these are some recent pictures I have been playing, and recently, obviously, I've been demonstrating. So numerous games on here, loads more to see. Of course, please hit that follow as well. Thanks very much for watching. I look forward to bringing you part 50 to 1. Let me know your thoughts.